Aid workers in Haiti are racing to provide food, water and shelter to survivors of Saturday's earthquake before a major tropical storm hits the country. More than 1,400 people are known to have died after the quake struck on Saturday. The problems are even more acute in remote areas. Our correspondent James Clayton managed to travel to the town of Lekay to the southwest of the epicenter, and he sent this report.
Many of these people were asleep when the earthquake hit, their homes caving in. It's hard enough to treat survivors of any natural disaster, but when the hospitals themselves are under fear of collapse, it makes it all the more difficult.
Well, this hospital is simply too unsafe to have people stay inside, so they brought everyone outside here and they've tried to place them under trees, under tents, to try and keep them a little bit cooler and out of the hot sun. But what you're seeing here is 48 hours after the quake, the doctors have run out of painkillers, they've run out of antibiotics, and there are major concerns about things like infection.
Elsie had just woken up when the earthquake hit. Her son has a serious compound fracture and needs to be taken to the airport to be lifted out. Seeing him in such pain is overwhelming. There simply aren't enough facilities to treat people in this remote part of the country. From the hospital, some of the injured are taken to this airport, waiting for a flight out to the capital, Port-au-Prince, like 19-year-old Tanya, who's pregnant.
So you woke up and basically tried to run out, but then the house collapsed on top of her?
She says her leg hurts and she has abdominal pain.
Most of the hospitals here are in need of the basics. IV solutions, bandages, medications, including antibiotics and pain management medications. They're in the same situation where they've run out. Overall, it's dire. You know, we're sitting here with 3 hospitals that are moving patients to the airport for transportation out. There's no coordination.
A tropical storm here is also preventing flights in and out of the capital. The people here need help, but at the moment, not enough is coming. James Clayton, BBC News, Lekay.
Overnight, the Caldor fire just outside Sacramento exploded, doubling in size.
This area is extremely hard for us to get into.
In California, some 31,000 residents are under evacuation orders. At least 2 civilians were injured in the fire, which remains entirely uncontained.
We are seeing generational destruction of forests because of what these fires are doing. This is going to take a long time to come back from.
Gusty winds and dry drought conditions creating a dangerous situation, destroying numerous homes and property.
This classroom used to belong to the elementary school students here in this small town. It's a reminder that wildfires don't just touch down in remote areas. Increasingly, they are sweeping through our lives.
Residents racing to get out and making their way to safety.
It's just it's sad what's happening.
It's hurting my heart right now because as I'm driving up here right now, if this is the last time I ever see this area, it'll be heartbreaking.
These satellite images from NASA show the dark smoke reaching all the way to Nevada, where ash rained down. Tonight, in California, firefighters face another difficult night ahead.
Joy, thank you. The Washington Monument still shut down tonight as crews work to repair the damage after it was hit by lightning. This video posted on Twitter shows the monument lit up after midnight on Sunday while storms were in the area, and then you see the bolt hit the monument. The National Parks Service says crews are now working to fix the electronic access system that was damaged by the strike.
Check this out. Someone was taking a video of the Washington Monument from the Lincoln Memorial when they saw a lightning bolt hit the top of the monument. Officials who work there say the strike actually damaged the monument's electronic access system and that it should reopen to the public in a couple of days.
Elon Musk positioned Tesla as the world leader in artificial intelligence. It was a highly technical presentation across more than 2 hours that outlined the challenges that Tesla faced in developing an autonomous driving system based solely on cameras rather than also including LiDAR and radar like the rest of the autonomous technology industry. The centerpiece was Tesla's own semiconductor, the D1 chip. Executives said that it had the compute power of the best graphics chips, it had the flexibility of the best central processors. And the main question from the audience gathered in Palo Alto was whether Tesla would open source this technology for use by others. This is what Elon Musk had to say.
I'm not sure how to pay for it if it's fully open sourced. Yeah, unless people want to work for free. But I should say that this is, if other car companies want to license it and use it in their cars, that would be cool. This is not intended to be just limited to Tesla cars.
The D1 chip, along with other processors and connectors, is integrated into what Tesla calls its training tile. Blocks of the training tile go into data centers that make up the Dojo supercomputer used to train Tesla's neural network and ultimately achieve full self-driving. There were some surprises as well. We got a robot. Would you expect anything less from Tesla and Elon Musk? Elon Musk said that basically Tesla is training its neural network. It's developing its artificial intelligence capabilities to one day make this robot that can essentially replace human labor. The robot can, Musk says, do things as simple as bending over to pick up an object or on command going to the store to buy groceries. But in the meantime, all the focus is on doubling down with data testing, data labeling, and getting as close and as quickly to full self-driving as possible. Ed Ludlow, Bloomberg News, San Francisco.
Let's turn to another of today's main stories, the wildfires burning in parts of Europe. There are reports of thousands of people being evacuated in the south of France near Saint-Tropez as what's being described as a fierce wildfire spreads across parts of the region. 5,000 acres have been burnt, according to local officials. My colleague Geeta Gurumurthy is in Kogola, where the town's mayor says 100 homes have been affected. Geeta described how she and her family were told to leave the area, and then she filmed what she saw.
It's been absolutely terrifying. We've been here just for a few days with the children on holiday, and we got a call very late last night from the villa company that we'd rented from, saying we had to get out immediately because there was a huge fire. We threw ourselves into the car, drove down the tiny narrow path in the direction that we were told to drive towards, and immediately turned a corner and came up against flames literally on the side of the road. We tried to turn around, the car went into a ditch, so we had to run a mile up the other direction, being the other direction we could go to. Stay inside, and my husband went out to help because what the problem was is the villa was surrounded by fires on both sides, and a third fire in fact. So we were on all sides, these huge blazes with the wind changing direction, and they just were hoping that the wind would drive the fires perpendicularly on either side of the house that we were in and not in our direction.
As Afghanistan falls to Taliban control, the Biden administration stands by its plan to leave.
That is the hard decision the president made.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken insisting there's not much more the United States can do.
Ultimately, it's up to the Afghans themselves. It's up to the Afghan government. It's up to the Taliban to decide the way forward for the country.
Now conceding the Taliban's advances have been far faster than even he forecasted in June.
I don't think it's going to be something that happens from a Friday to a Monday.
Placing blame on the Afghan security forces.
Tragically, they have not been able to defend the country, and I think that explains why this has moved as quickly as it's moved.
And pointing the finger at the Trump administration's deal with the Taliban to withdraw American forces by May of this year.
The idea that we could have maintained the status quo beyond May 1st if the president had decided to stay, I think is a fiction.
Candidate Biden promised to bring troops home, and President Biden guaranteed last month there would be no airlifts from the embassy in Kabul, saying it was not at all analogous to the messy exit from Vietnam 4 decades ago.
This is manifestly not Saigon.
Still, helicopters continuously evacuated Americans and our Afghan allies to the airport throughout the day. An optical comparison Republicans have seized on as they continue to blast the president's foreign policy strategy.
This is going to be a stain on this president and his presidency. And I think he's going to have blood on his hands for what they did.
This has been an epic failure across the board, one we're going to pay for years to come. And Monica joins us now. Monica, are there any plans for President Biden to address the nation?
Not currently, at least not tonight, Peter. The White House weighing that day by day, with officials acknowledging the American people want to hear from him. For now, the president remains at Camp David, where he has been largely out of view since Friday.
Nations around the world have been reacting to that UN landmark climate report that issued a code red for humanity. Experts agree that without big reductions in global carbon dioxide emissions, the world cannot win the fight against climate change. China is the world's largest emitter of carbon dioxide, followed by the United States and India.
Here in the United States, people shouldn't need a wake-up call about climate change from a scientific report because they're already living it. Unprecedented heat and severe drought are fueling massive wildfires across the northwest of the country. The U.S. has itself to blame. Historically, it's released more carbon dioxide into the air than any other country, 400 billion metric tons. Now, it's the world's second biggest polluter after China. In 2019, it produced 6.6 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide.
Across India, hundreds of people have died in flash floods over recent weeks during the monsoon, and those rains are likely to intensify and get even harder to predict, which could mean millions of people living under threat. So extreme weather is a real risk.